You're listening to Ka-Pow, the pop culture podcast. Comics, television, movies, and more. If it impacts fan culture, we have something to say about it. And now, your hosts, Jordan, Cliff, and Seth.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Ka-Pow, the pop culture podcast. My name is Jordan Lowe.
Cliff Barnes.
I'm Seth.
Hope you enjoyed that last
should I say?
Episodes.
I'm Seth. I'm
Yeah.
Seth. What is it? How casually he says that in the episode? It's like, Seth. Sorry. I'm jumping ahead. Go ahead.
I don't know where we are tonight, but yeah, we talked G.I. Joe a little bit last couple episodes. So we had our history of how we all got into comics. That was a really fun episode.
Oh, yeah.
Check that one out. And we did something a little different. We did a little commentary on a G.I. Joe episode, the very first one. So you can't miss that. That's too fun. We're gonna talk G.I. Joe more next episode. So our rule is only every other episode now.
Yeah, well, we were
just
just
doing this.
Yeah, okay. I was gonna say, though, just because you guys mentioned it before we started, but watch the YouTube video of us talking about that first G.I. Joe episode, because you can watch along.
You watch the episode
right there. One video. You don't need to go do anything.
Pretty simple.
So,
It's
yeah.
like watching television.
You've just crossed over into the Twilight Zone.
Live from New York, it's Saturday night!
Marsha!
The fucking light, yo. Yo, so come on, yo, Romar's coming, man.
I'm Prison Mike. You know why they call me Prison Mike?
Beavis, please sit down.
Are you threatening me? I am Cornholio.
First sign a youngster's going wrong, you got to nip it in the bud. Nip it.
And I'm sitting there with Woody, and I turn to him and I go, boy, these pretzels are making me thirsty.
Picture it. Sicily, 1939.
What you talking about, Willis?
Won't you please? Please won't you be my neighbor? My neighbor.
Afternoon, everybody.
Speaking of television, we're going to speak of television.
What a save.
Wow.
Guys, we can't take weeks off, all right? We get rusty. This
That's
used
true.
to be a well-oiled machine.
It's sure.
Now we're stumbling.
No, it's been we're over halfway through the year. And I feel like 2024 we have done very little of what we would consider a regular episode. Everything has been kind of like a list or a bracket or something special.
As you get older, it takes a little more to get you hyped up. You gotta have something special going on.
Right. Right.
Gotta be an anniversary.
I don't feel like there's not as much great TV. We were in a golden age of television there for a while. I feel like maybe we're in the back end of that.
I totally
quite
agree.
as much I'm hyped for it. There used to be every night of the week. Oh, it's Tuesday. That means this show's coming on. There's very little of that for me anymore. I don't know. I don't have every streaming channel. There's more to discover out there, but I just feel like I'm not watching as much as I have been.
Yeah, there's more content than ever, but we were just having this conversation like a day ago, and I don't remember if it was Alicia or Carly. One of them said, hey, have you noticed, we're not really watching TV, in the past, like you said, oh, tonight's Modern Family, we got to watch the new episode, or, The Simpsons, there's no can't miss TV, so to speak, in a way, and I think maybe it's just because we're so spoiled with so many shows out there and that we have access to at this point, but yeah, we've really gotten away from that at my house.
I don't know. I feel like I watch a lot of stuff.
You never sleep.
Even stuff I don't want to watch. But gotta do what you gotta do.
I'm sure you watch Star Wars content. So what about the Acolyte?
Yeah.
Watch out!
I sense something dark.
Justify their galactic dominance in the name of peace. But that peace is a lie.
Jedi are being hunted. You carry a Jedi weapon. But you are no Jedi.
This isn't about good or bad. This is about power and who is allowed to use it. What is that?
Star Wars: The Acolyte. New episodes Tuesdays, only on Disney Plus.
I watched it twice. I went today and watched it over at Nick's house. He hasn't been watching The Acolyte, and he just kind of waits until I tell him something's good enough to really watch. And I was like, well, I don't want to disappoint him, and like I think the show's fine.
Yeah,
I'm interested in it. But I was like, you need to watch the 5th episode. Like, and he's like, okay. We watched it. He agreed. It was good.
Yeah.
It was a great Star Wars episode.
Yeah.
So Cliff, I know you're original trilogy guy. That's your focus. What do you have experience with this High Republic? It's fairly recent. This is set like 100 years before.
Yes.
The Skywalker stuff. So this is kind of not ancient history, but pre the characters we know from the original.
Right.
The first three or the first 2 trilogies.
No, I'm not real. I've never really went and read any of the High Republic stuff. I'm not real up on it. I can tell you, I've seen it. I've seen some artwork and stuff, and I can tell you, the show, the costuming looks like those books or those comics. Like, it's a cool look. Especially the Jedi that, they kind of have the gold accents more. It's a little less brown, which is a nice little change up. Definitely a different era of storyline and, how they were functioning in that world in the galaxy, I guess. But being, at least
there was no Sith. We didn't know.
Right.
There apparently there was no Sith that anybody knew of back then.
So I mean, my initial after the first couple episodes, my thought was it feels and it looks a little Star Trek-y. I don't know why. It's just personally like I don't know.
There's a lot of red shirts in this episode.
Yeah, there were. But like the first couple episodes, just the way it was filmed, kind of some of the planets and everything, it just felt, I don't know, it had a little different feel to it. It wasn't bad.
Okay.
I've been perfectly fine with it so far. This last episode, it made a leap.
Was it maybe not like the technology's all junked up, like we love, the rusty old Millennium Falcon and stuff? So like, is this the newer,
this
cleaner
is the clean,
Star Trek?
Yeah, this was when everything was brand new.
Yeah. Right. So
it's back before we trashed it.
But
going into this, I literally didn't see anything about it. I didn't read anything about it. I knew nothing about it. The only thing I knew was the guy from Squid Game was Jedi. That's literally all I knew. So not that I was.
Who was doing a great job. He's great. I never would have guessed that guy was gonna pull this off.
So I wasn't super interested that I wanted to go seek this stuff out, but I wasn't disinterested, so I knew I was going to watch it. So I'm like, all right, so this might be the freshest I've ever come to anything Star Wars. And those first 2 episodes I thought set up a really good mystery. I didn't know who these, when Carrie Ann Moss showed up, I was like, oh, Carrie Ann Moss. Like I had no clue she was even in it, and then I was like, oh no. So I was a little disappointed we only got a little bit.
Oh no.
So yeah, after those first 2 episodes, I'm like, I'm into this. Why are people not enjoying this? And then
It's an
third and
organized effort by trolls.
well, of
you know,
course.
don't pay any attention to that garbage.
Well,
Against
the
diversity, whatever.
Well, it's
third
just
and fourth episodes were a little slower, and then this fifth one's like, whoa, all right, I'm way back into it. So we got a few. It's like 8 episodes total, so we're a little over halfway through.
Yeah. I thought it, story wise, I think it's been good. It's had a couple nice little twists in there that I wasn't expecting, and certainly the big reveal. I was just like, oh, cool, who's this weird looking helmet dude and with shiny teeth?
Mortals. That's I knew from the time I saw that guy show up in the show that I knew right away that was the guy. I was like, it's Mortals. I was like, he's a bigger deal than, I mean, he was not gonna just be that dummy, So I was like, yep, he's the guy.
Well,
I wasn't, but then when they revealed it, it's like, oh no, the mystery guy is the only other character we've met.
Yeah,
like there was literally only one other person with lines.
Hadn't met very many people. That is true.
Yeah.
It could have been one of the witches or something, but
I actually had that thought that it was like the other mom getting revenge or something. Right. I was like, that could have been.
Yeah, some neat stuff. I'm cool with it. Anytime anything Star Wars comes out now, I just expect a certain percentage of so-called fans to lose their minds because anything Star Wars that Disney has produced, they lose their minds every time over the same thing and just repeats itself, and it the singular goal seems to be to make it so nobody else can enjoy it. So
I was looking up the actors, just to make sure I knew who everybody was, and the main, the girl who plays the twins, Osha and May, Amandla Stenberg, played Rue in the Hunger Games. Mm-hmm. Which one of the few things I know about the Hunger Games was that there was a big stink when that came out. They made Rue black. Like, people who read the novel didn't like that for some reason. And, that became a whole thing. So this actress has literally been dealing with this since she was a kid, making the Hunger Games back then. And now she's like, come to the Star Wars universe, where it's 10 times worse.
Right. Oh, Lord.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. What? I had this conversation this week with somebody in the shop. There's no answer to this. I'm going to ask you a question you can't possibly answer. But what do you do?
Watch us.
As Disney, as Lucasfilm, as a corporation, as a company, as an entity, what do you do about this? You put out a product, a consistent product that a large number of people, whether they sincerely don't like it or just have a vendetta against it, are actively. I was like, okay, if you're Keebler Cookies and you put out a new cookie every month and people were like, they're critics that's a good choice for a cookie. We haven't had that kind of cookie before. I like to see new cookies. And but half the people who used to buy your cookies are like, take that cookie and shove it, are vocally angry about your cookies. You have to do something about that, but you can't. Even if they went back and start, okay, from now on we're only casting straight white men, that'll make you happy. They'll still complain about it or something, and it wouldn't fix the problem. Mm-hmm. So you can stay the course and try to keep doing new things, but you're going to constantly get this barrage of hate, or you could backpedal and try to maybe fix it, quote unquote, and that won't solve anything. So literally, you're a corporation making a product. You're trying to sell a product. What do you do about these toxic fans? You're between a rock and a hard place.
There's nothing you can do, and they're doing the right thing to just stay the course. They're doing the right thing, and who cares what these people think? I'm proud that so many of these, corporations haven't just bent to them, and they're just like, we're just going to keep making the best show we can. Not every show's great, not every show's Andor, but we're going to continue to cast diversely because we found it's more interesting to most people, and whatever, be damned. You're organized. These are not a bunch of guys that all happen to dislike this. It's a bunch of guys that are organized. It takes an organized effort to go review bomb like they're review bomb.
Right.
Like they're being, shepherded into doing this.
Unfortunately,
so go ahead.
They have enough people on that feel the way they do, that do podcasts and social media and YouTube and TikTok, putting stuff out there to agree with them. Because
but those people are making money. Those people aren't doing it because they even care. They're doing it because they found these throngs of idiots that care. And so they're making money off of those people's clicks. They don't necessarily even give a crap.
That fan push used to be the positive about Star Wars. When it wasn't nearly as much content, the fans were still out there, pushing these things this way. And now that it's turned, we've gone from the light side to the dark side, and it's like, you still have that community, but now something's gone dark with them.
So many of them.
It's lucrative.
So many of them were. It's silliness, but the minute George Lucas sold Star Wars, I think they felt like they owned Star Wars, and they were betrayed, and they've never gotten over it.
They would be so disappointed at what he would do with it. Like,
right,
he never was consistent with anything.
No,
it's like they think, oh, this would never happen. It's like, what?
Yeah,
he did whatever. He went off vibes also.
Yes,
so George Lucas was just vibing out, doing whatever.
George Lucas made a bunch of weird crap too. That. I mean, they just love it.
Didn't like it either.
Well, they have nostalgia for it now because George made it. George doesn't make anything anymore. George would have done this. And George did that. Well, come on, like Walt Disney didn't live forever.
Trying to provoke a George Lucas impression, but I didn't get quite there.
But I'm gonna review bomb us till you do it, George Lucas.
But yeah, it's I get tired of listening to them because.
But this is my problem. I'm a little bit lukewarm on this show.
Yeah.
And you feel like you have to preface that. It's like, well, it's not because you want to defend it. It's like you don't have to love every show. You don't have to hate every show. But it makes reviewing it or talking about it hard when when the default position is hate it until they prove it's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel.
Well, let's talk about it.
Okay.
Let's talk about it, and whatever you don't like, feel free to say. But I don't. Let's just go right to this episode. Like
number 5, you say?
First off, that fourth, the fourth and fifth episode should have just been one episode. It's like they did all this build up, and then that would have been a great second half to one big episode. Yeah. That's just my opinion. It's like because we're all invested by the end of the fourth episode. We're watching, it's a fine episode, but here we go, and we got to wait a week.
Yeah.
You could have just went into it. We'd have been like, this was great.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah, I mean
that all the lightsaber stuff was awesome. All these freaking different color lightsabers. Just was amazing. I loved all these yellow lightsabers.
Yeah.
Yes, yellow lightsabers.
I think the fact that they brought something new to the fight scenes with lightsabers that we hadn't seen before, shorten them out and all that. I mean, that was cool as hell. I mean, good on them.
I've seen that before in Spaceballs. Schwartz.
Right, they're ripping off.
That's what I kept thinking that there's.
It's called Schwartzing them out. Schwartz me out.
So, but yeah, I mean,
we had just people getting killed left and right at the beginning of that episode. Just he's stabbing him through the stomach and pulling the guy in behind that one into the lightsaber. It's like, yes, I loved all this. All these, you could tell these Jedi weren't used to this. They're not used to fighting basically a bad Jedi. doing things that they're not used to.
Where they're still
and he
holding
even,
to the rules.
Right. I love it.
Etiquette.
Yeah, that one guy. Yeah, that one guy's talking about he doesn't fight the way you're supposed to, and that's like their whole. The way he's fighting, nobody likes. The Jedi don't like it, and since this, Sith don't even fight like that, where you turn your lightsaber on and off. So if someone's striking at you, you turn your lightsaber off, and it throws off their balance because they're thinking they're going to hit something, and nobody likes it. Nobody does it anymore, but he likes it, and he just wants to do things the way he wants to do it. That's his whole thing. It's not necessarily like he is, I'm a Sith, and this is what Sith do. He says you probably call me a Sith, but he doesn't even know. He just wants to be able to do his own thing, and I just thought that was so awesome. Like just the explanation of that. Like he's just chosen this way. They hate it, and he likes it. So you're gonna have to live with it.
Yeah, I thought.
I just thought all the battles were great.
I did. Spoilers.
The freaking mask.
Well, the mask.
Spoilers. Yeah. What? Well, the whole thing's spoilers. We're talking about the fifth episode.
I don't know what the character's name is, but the younger girl.
Portals.
The younger girl.
Sorry. Does anybody get that joke? Does anybody know what I'm talking about?
Portals.
Did you guys watch The Good Place?
No,
Good Place,
I've never seen it, but I know that.
But
Jackie Long.
Yes.
Oh yeah, Daphne Keane. Whatever.
Yeah, I could have. I would have liked to seen a little bit more from. Like she was exciting and
she was cool.
Yeah, she was cool, and when she pulled out the having the two sabers out and like that kind of little look
because she had the Wookiees, the Kashyyyki's lightsaber. That was so awesome.
Yeah, I was like, oh, here we go. This is a character I can get behind, and then nope. So much for
another dude, Yord.
Mm.
That scene of him shirtless was the most. There was no reason for that whatsoever, except that this dude is jacked, and the whole show he's wearing a robe. It's like, how do we show how jacked this dude is? Oh, he's ironing his robe. Let's peek in and see what he's doing.
But that's a good excuse. That's a good enough excuse. Like they have to show how the mentality of these High Republic Jedi. They're just like walking around with their crisp robes and everything. I'm like, whatever excuse you got to have. That guy put in a lot of work. Oh, that was good. I loved when I just have like random notes, but I love when they're like Osha and him are walking through the jungle, and he's got his yellow lightsaber, and she's got her flashlight on, and she's like, turn off your lightsaber. She turns off her flashlight or what, and I was just like, or turn it on. I don't remember, but I was like, it's like her flashlight was a lightsaber. It was it reminded me of being a kid,
right.
Using a flashlight as a lightsaber. And the lightsabers when we were kids were just flashlights, with
the blow
tubes on the end, with a colored thing. It was like that was. I just like that touch.
Yeah.
But he was so good as this character, like that freaking mask. We got to talk about the mask. I was trying to think what it reminded me of. First off, because those teeth, Darth teeth, what you shared that they were calling him on the internet, but those teeth going all the way around there like that. First off, I think it's like the coolest mask in Star Wars as far as I'm concerned. And it reminded me of this D&D miniature I have of a monster called a Caco demon that looks like that. Which actually from Doom, the video game.
Some anime villain or something. That's what it reminded me of.
That's probably more what it was inspired by, probably. But the whole cortosis, metal that he must be using to short them out, which I was looking into like the lore of that, and it's been sprinkled throughout. Apparently, originally all we had was what could block lightsabers. We had Beskar, of course. And there was some, I don't even remember the name of it, but in the Dark Forces video game, there was something that would block it. But in as far back as 98. And I think there was a book they said I, Jedi, where cortosis ore was mentioned and disabled a lightsaber, and Timothy Zahn had a vision of the future, maybe, where Luke tells Mara Jade, some about this guy must have had cortosis and how rare it was, and then since then the new books like A New Dawn, and since like 2017 on, Zahn has mentioned cortosis several times. It's like, so this is a thing, and we're finally getting able to see that this has been around. So as a way to momentarily stop the circuit that's running on a lightsaber. And apparently it has some sort of ability to block their mind reading or mind control that the Jedi do. So I'm curious how that's going to play out. It was so cool. He's just like, and when he gets it knocked off and all that, and that guy just freaking looked so awesome. He's gonna be in a bunch more stuff now. Like, he has planted his flag. Like, he pumped his arms up, and he's got his hair hanging down his face, and he just looked freaking cool. And I like when he's like, what Soul is like, why risk being discovered? He's like, well, I did wear a mask. I was like, true. You did try not to be discovered. It was awesome. I tried to pay attention the second time when I watched it with Nick, like, to what they were saying, or what's actually playing out. Like, he didn't want him to read his thoughts. He said, it was weird. He said, no, no, no. Like, I like it. Maybe Amy Winehouse. Remember me? So you want to read my thoughts? No, no, no. He says, you fight like a Jedi, but you are no Jedi. Mm-hmm. That immediately made me think of Ahsoka.
Yeah. Yeah.
She just says, I am no Jedi.
Well, I feel
it's like,
when she pulls out the double lightsabers, I was like, oh, well, that's a very Ahsoka look there immediately.
Well, I just like the mentality, at least my perspective, that this guy is not thinking Sith. He's not like trying to be Sith. He's just like, you would call me Sith, I guess. And when he says that, Soul's the only one there.
Yeah.
And so if I'm sure they're going to close this loop, if in the future nobody's heard of Sith, either Soul has to die with this knowledge, or he's going to become one. So I assume he's going to die, but that has to be where his fate. But he just wants to fight like he wants to fight. He only rules he does have to go by are Jedi rules. I want an Acolyte.
Mm-hmm.
And this one sucks.
Yeah.
She was going to betray me.
Yeah.
That's what those witches want too. Like, they're trying to do, seems like the same thing.
And I feel like there's more to tell, more to find out with them.
Right. Oh yeah.
I am curious because I kind of expected this thing to be like a one and done season, but at this point now I'm like, well, I don't know if you can do just one season. Like, I feel like there's a lot of story
one
here.
of these episodes is going to be, I assume, an entire flashback episode to what happened.
Yeah,
because they keep hinting, whatever happened, these Jedi feel guilty. They did something.
I want to see more Wookiee Jedi.
What did Soul do?
Give me some more Cal Naka.
But I don't know. I like I'm not clear on what the deal with the sisters. Like, I thought that because he was so enamored an episode or two ago when he saw Osha.
Mm-hmm.
wasn't she trying to pretend to be May and went in there or something? And he saw her and he was like, "You look just like her. You're just like." I was like, "Oh, when he, okay." Then he finds out, then May is going to betray him. He drops her. He wants to kill her. I thought he would be like, "Okay, now I want OSHA."
Mm-hmm.
But he was trying to kill her 100%. He was not trying to like get her to be his acolyte. He was hacking at her.
At one point there, it felt very Rey and Kylo.
They literally play the Kylo Ren theme at the end. When he goes up to OSHA at the end and heals her, the Kylo Ren theme is playing. And he says that whole thing about, he says this whole thing about, I don't even remember. It's kind of gibberish, but it's just like what beautiful beings we are and things. And like they did that in the most recent trilogy. Like, I feel like Yoda said something like that or whatever.
Luminous beings we are.
Yeah. Whoa. I think that's exactly what he said. But it's like I assume he will try now to like make her his thing, but he was trying to kill her. I also don't believe that. This was another thing that I did see a bit on the internet. People like hating on May cutting her hair with the lightsaber and how stupid that was. And when I watched it, I was like, oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
I was like, that was a cool idea. What's she doing? Oh, that was a pretty cool idea. Yeah. And everybody hates that because everybody hates everything. I was like, whatever. Get over yourselves. That was cool.
Yeah, the quote.
But there's
luminous
no
beings. Luminous beings are we, not this crude matter. There we go.
Nice. And what's that from? What movie?
Empire.
Yeah.
You must feel the force around you. Here,
so it is all the
between
way
you,
back,
me, the tree, the rock, everywhere. Yes, even between the land and the ship.
Well, yeah, this guy's basically has the same sentiment right here. But I like the there's no way that Soul doesn't know that this is May. Because first off, it's stupid. He goes, "Where is she?" And she says, "Who?" And he doesn't say May. He says, "Your sister." He's like he knows that's her, but he's not like he hates either one. He's like, well, I'll take whoever. It's like, I'll figure you out later. I don't know what you're trying to do here, but I don't know. I thought that episode got me way more excited about it, and I've been trying to. Again, it hasn't been super exciting the first few episodes, but I've been trying to pay attention to what they're saying, because that usually gets me more excited about what they're trying to hint at and where we're going with this. I like the idea of this guy not being just, I'm the first Sith or whatever. It's like, he's just, I'm the first something. I'm the first person that's defying you and just wants to, the Jedi make all the rules and I can't, I am not accepted, or I don't remember how he says it, but it's like, I'm not allowed. So that's why this whole thing is going this direction.
I don't necessarily want a story about how the Jedi suck. And that's sort of like, I thought maybe those first two episodes were setting that up. There's a secret. They're withholding something. Oh, the Jedi did something wrong, or covering it up. There's some kind of crime. They're not as pure as they say they are, or whatever. I mean, you can read into a lot of what they do, and the whole thing of
they do suck. They go around and take people's kids
younglings
without. Yeah, and like again, when he says like, you don't remember me, now, I assume they want you to immediately think, didn't you see me the other day in this apothecary? But I bet you don't remember me from something else. And was he one of these kids scooped up at some point? Like
so, it's not pure black and white in this universe, but I didn't need the Jedi are really bad guys. But to just rebel against the idea of you're rigid. There's this dogma, this tradition, this hokey religions and ancient weapons, like that kind of stuff. That's enough to make a villain. That works for me. I like this dude.
Yeah. It's the last, even with Andor, it's just different. It's different storytelling. than those first 3 movies. We love those movies, but there's a lot more to be explored in an entire galaxy. And getting back to, there were so many people hated Andor. Andor's the best Star Wars I've seen in
so many
forever.
Stupid people hated Andor.
Yeah, but they absolutely hated it. Just it's just the same crap over and over and over again. And I'm to the point where I'm just ready. They can all sit in their corner and pout, and the rest of us can,
I don't care about them.
Can move on and still enjoy it. And
my only problem with it, like, whatever, cry all you want, but like tonight I went to play D&D, and I said to a friend of mine, "Hey, are you watching the Acolyte?" He's like, "No, I haven't watched anything." I was like, "Just watch the 5th episode. Just came out. If you watch that and you want to go back, great. You can or don't, but you need to watch the 5th episode. It's good Star Wars." And he's like, "Okay." And these other guys were standing there and said, "I heard it was crap or whatever." And I was like, from a bunch of guys, review bombing it because they hate diversity.
Yeah.
I was like, so if you want to listen to them, go ahead. I'm telling you, it's that watch the 5th episode and decide for yourself if you want to watch any of it. I was like, that's the problem. People are influenced by that stuff. So I'm just like, I'm just gonna tell the people I know I liked it.
Yeah, especially if you're not super engaged in online your whole life. You hear things like, there's not very good word of mouth about this. So like, yeah, they're proving their point. They're getting their way by turning people against this. It's a fight, but it's so much better to enjoy things, isn't it?
Yes.
I like liking things.
Me too.
Yeah.
And it reminds me a lot of what we call the dark times when Star Wars wasn't popular, and it wasn't cool to like Star Wars, and you had to enjoy it in the dark because everybody was scared.
When was that people didn't like Star Wars?
Oh my gosh. I mean, well, for me, probably from the late 80s into when the movies
I was alive. I don't remember anybody not liking Star Wars.
Well,
everybody loved Star Wars and wished there was more.
I distinctly remember, being a little younger.
I remember there not being Star Wars.
No. I'm talking about when
there wasn't any.
It just, it became a point. It was like comic books where it wasn't cool. It was, that's a nerdy thing for a long time because it wasn't in the pop culture because it kind of was. It had went away, and so therefore it wasn't cool to like that stuff anymore. Why we watched that when we were kids? Why are you still watching it? Why do you still like it? It reminds me a lot of that sentiment.
I think you should. It's probably your Caravan of Courage shirt. Yeah, I don't know. People are giving you a hard time about it.
So.
I think I have a new character that's my favorite in all of Star Wars, and I'm waiting for the action figure.
Oh, I know.
It's the tracker guy.
Yeah, it's.
Oh no,
Basil.
that's Porg. That's like cutesy Porg world. Like, I don't need that. But Baby Yoda, Porg. And all these people who love Baby Yoda. That's too mainstream. My favorite character is the noodle droid from that first episode, where they went and the droid is making the noodles. Like, what if I had one of those in my kitchen, man?
Fake noodles every day.
All the time.
All right. That was Star Wars.
Star Wars! Nothing but Star Wars!
So, have either of you been watching House of the Dragon?
No.
I watched the first episode.
The first episode? How'd the first episode end?
I have no idea.
Can't remember.
Did
it end? If you watched the first episode, did it end with the
I watched it.
Blood and cheese.
I turned it on a couple times, but was heavily on muscle relaxers as I watched it.
Okay.
So I can't say that I remember much of it all.
Well, I'm going to talk about it because I think it's the first episode that I wanted to talk about.
Okay.
If you've seen it, Jordan's probably not going to watch it. So spoilers for House of the Dragon, first episode.
Have to watch Game of Thrones first.
Yeah,
you'd have to go way back.
So give me a minute, I'll be back.
All right. Excuse me, I'll be back in a second. No, I'm pretty sure the first episode ended with this thing from. I mean, this is all loosely based on the Fire and Blood book from 2018, which is like it's not a history text of this time, but it's different perspectives of what happened in that history.
Mm-hmm.
And the show is trying to basically put their own perspective and, well, who knows what really happened. But at the end of the first episode, there's like a red wedding level thing that happens where these guys are sent. Damon, Matt Smith's character,
mm-hmm.
Is Team Black, and he sends Blood and Cheese, these two guys, to go kill. What's the guy's name? The guy, eye patch guy.
Yeah.
And and wants a son for a son because Rhaenyra's kid had got killed,
mm-hmm.
and at the end of the first season,
last season,
yeah, and so they say he's supposed to go kill him, and they say, well, what if we can't get to him? And then they end the scene, and you don't see what he says, but of course, I'm sure we are assumed he said, what, just get a son. So they go there and find where the other brother is married to his sister,
mm-hmm.
and she's like a seer basically, and so they have kids, and there's these twins, and they are
one's a boy and one's a girl.
One's a boy, is a girl. They aren't going to check. They just want her to tell them which
so
one.
Dumb.
But they do it different than the book. And before I tell you what they do in the book, I want to tell you that I had the idea first. Because this book didn't come out till 2018. But in 2015, in our Dragon Age campaign, I'm taking credit for this because it's a great idea. People give George R.R. Martin a lot of credit for this, and I'm like, I get nothing.
Is this a Michael in the Incredibles situation?
Oh no, I'm not bitter. I just wanted to tell my story.
Okay.
But these guys, they're going through this castle to go get this bad guy, and he has hired some guy to make this contraption. They don't know, but when they get, basically, to fast forward, they get up there, and one of the players, out hanging over this chasm is his sister and his girl he's going to marry, basically. So they're each hanging out over there, and there's some sort of contraption there, and he knows he could save one of them depending on what lever he pulls. And he has to choose right in front of them as they're hanging over the chasm, and he chooses to save his girlfriend, like that Jake, Eric's kid that was playing. He chose to save his girlfriend because he did not get along with his sister, and the NPC in the game. And when he pulls the lever, he realizes, he sees the contraption doesn't work the way he thought. It's the opposite. And so he pulls that, and his sister comes swinging down and lands right in front of him, and his girlfriend falls into the abyss and dies. And his girlfriend knows that he chose for her to die. I mean, his sister knows that he chose for her to die, and she takes off and looks at him angrily and takes off. And they were just blown away by that and stuff. And in this book, 2018, he goes and asks the girl which child she wants to die, and if she doesn't, he's going to kill all of them, basically. So she has to choose one. and she chooses one, and he grabs that kid, and says, "Did you hear that? Your mother wants you to die," and then they kill the other one. And I was like, "That's my idea." And then they didn't even do it in the show. They didn't. They pulled their punch in the show, like it was just too dark. I was like, too dark for Game of Thrones? That's impossible. You stabbed a pregnant woman in the belly like 10 times.
Yeah.
Didn't the Joker do that to Maggie Gyllenhaal?
Yeah.
Yeah, probably. Anyway,
similar.
It was. It's a good season so far, and if you watch the first season, this season's just as good. Except they've changed quite a bit from the books to try to level out the teams, because it was a little more obvious which team was good. Green seemed to have the nicer people on it in the books, but not in this one. They've got her screwing Kristen Cole and
yeah,
all that stuff. But that's all I wanted to talk about. That I just wanted to tell my.
Yeah,
happened here.
I didn't
on this Velvet.
I didn't have very high hopes for that series when it came out last year, and it's I like Matt Smith, typically in anything he's in. So
yeah, he's good. His character is like this is a perfect example. He's trying to always please whoever he would prefer to be in charge.
Yeah.
But it isn't going to happen. So whoever is in charge of the side he likes, he's going to do his weaselly things to try to help. And they're always not super helpful.
Right.
Yeah. He's like, "What? You didn't like that?" I thought this was a great idea.
Yeah.
It's like, I don't know. It's pretty good. It's Game of Thrones. Whatever. I'll watch it. Are you guys watching anything?
We mentioned The Boys. Season 4 we're currently in, so
I think they said it's going to end at 5. 5 will be the last.
Okay.
One.
Right, which was the big, that's the death knell for season 4, because all season 4 is repetitive stuff to set up season 5.
Yeah.
It's like once you name what season's that the next season's going to be the end, and they know what they're going to do in the end.
Mm-hmm.
So now we have to just put in filler till we can get there. It so annoys me when they do that.
I didn't rewatch any of the previous seasons or anything, so
never. You couldn't make me.
Yeah, I don't personally feel a huge drop off from this season. I know I liked previous seasons a little better.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not enjoying this one quite as much. But I don't know. To me personally, it doesn't feel like too big of a drop. I'm still enjoying it. I still like the satire of it all. It's gotten way less subtle. It's not even trying to hide what it's trying to say.
No.
It's
hitting
blatant. Right in the face.
Yeah. It's finally blatant enough that the idiots are seeing. Wait a minute.
But it still does those things like that scene where Sage is, we're getting a lot of traction from these 2 hashtags, so be sure and put some stuff behind that. Make sure this is trending by this. Like the things that actually happen in corporate America,
mm-hmm.
as far as publicity and marketing, and the way we are marketed to. This is, I feel like, maybe the best representation of that that's ever been on TV, of like the way people try to manipulate us into either buying products or liking celebrities or seeing your content or whatever. Like it's so smart in the way it does that. But then it also does the most blatant, like, okay, I see what you're doing. I don't know if anyone watching this will say, wait a minute, is that how? Because she even had that quote of like, and people, they'll end up hating Starlighter and not even knowing why. Like when they see your name, they'll hate her instantly without even it's like, I can think of several people that get that response online whenever their name is brought up. Like, has anyone maybe done any self-reflection of like, wait, have I been manipulated by algorithms and hashtags and corporate media? I don't know, but I don't
They'll
know
never
that
get
that's
the subtlety of that.
Yeah, I don't know that gets through to anyone, but my hope is that someone out there has taken a second look in the mirror, maybe.
Right. Yeah, I'm not disliking it. It's not like it's any worse or anything. Like I never loved the show, and there are still things that it's just so. It definitely goes for the shock value. There's an episode. I want to say it's like episode 4 or whatever, and it's just like so obvious. And the whole episode, it's just Homelander basically just get revenge on people he didn't like, and it's like okay, it goes on and on and on with it. It's like I'm just like, it feels like can we move forward in the plot some? They've like branched out so much. Where what was it? Is it like the end of last season? Huey got powers. He took the stuff. And he got powers, and like, oh, this is going to be this entirely new dynamic with him and Starlight. And there's none of that. There's nothing to see where that goes. It's totally this new story with his dad, and I'm like, oh, okay. What?
We brought in Jeffrey Dean Morgan, who's basically just another butcher, basically.
Yeah, exactly.
Which I love. I love seeing him on screen. He's cool, but it's like, okay, who is this guy, and how is he any different than the other guy?
I really don't have any complaints. I do. I'm gonna watch it. I do want to see where it goes. I just wish it didn't feel like they were having to kill time. The episodes are too long. That's my problem with it. The some other shows I watch are tight, and this show is not tight.
Yeah,
that's all I gotta say about it.
It's fine. I from what I've watched, it felt a lot of just more of the same. Not bad, not good, just more of the same. So.
And we're not quite when this show premiered. We were right in the midst of the MCU and getting 3 movies a year and like a superhero overload, and this was kind of deflating that a little bit with like, yeah, superheroes, these, they're corporate shills and all this stuff. So there's a little more bite to it a few years ago. We're kind of moving past that golden age, but I don't know. We're in another age, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, other things I watch on. I remember saying before the season started, way back. It was probably right after the Super Bowl. I assume that the show started. What? Tracker, that guy from whatever the show was. This Is Us. Had that CBS show, and I notoriously do not like any of those CBS dramas, but I watched the entire first season week to week, and it wasn't anything stupendous, but it wasn't terrible. I will, when the second season comes out, I will keep watching it. It was just a nice 45-minute episodes of, this guy doing the case of the week, where he's got to go find somebody and, track him down for a reward, and drive around with this big truck pulling an Airstream, and he's got his, he's got his Huntress and Oracle or whatever. He's got people that he gives him information, and it's and it has, of course, an overarching backstory with his family. It's very exactly cookie cutter like you would think, but it's not bad. It does, like Jordan said, feels like it's that guy from. It doesn't feel to me like it's that guy playing another role. It feels like it's that guy. This is what he does now. Yeah. He's a tracker. But anyway, it's all right. And on Apple, I started watching Presumed Innocent with Jake Gyllenhaal. It's based on the book. I don't know if either of you seen the movie with Harrison Ford.
Oh, that sounds very familiar.
Yeah, it was kind of an oddball Harrison Ford movie, and the reason being is because he doesn't come off great. The character he's playing is not a real nice guy, and I think that's almost where they may have made a mistake with the show. It's getting a lot of rave, like people love this, and I really do like it. And and I'm glad that I can't remember how the movie. I've seen the movie a couple times. I can't remember how it ends. I don't know who the bad guy is. But I do know that he didn't play a nice guy like he's accused of murder, of course, and it's like he's presumed innocent. You're like, of course your first instinct is always, well, he's innocent, but I couldn't tell you. I can't remember whether he was innocent or not in the movie, and I don't know whether they'll change anything for the show or not. But I do feel like maybe the casting is slightly off, because Harrison Ford in that movie was, you're like, oh, he's not a good guy, and Harrison Ford is always a good guy. So it felt weird. Well, Jake Gyllenhaal is not always a good guy. He's always on the edge. Yeah. He's always on the edge about to freaking do anything. So it's not, he's just doing the same thing he always does. So I don't know, but it is really good. It's a high quality. It's better than a bunch of the Apple shows. I feel like they only about 20% of their shows I really like, and I just am not into the rest. But this one I definitely do like. If you have Apple, watch it.
All right, KPP listeners, that's the secret code. We've mentioned both Gyllenhaals, so be sure and mark your card. Mail it into KPP headquarters.
Right. Yeah. Receive your what's our Gyllen prize? Gyllen prize.
You
guys nothing? Got nothing?
Not much.
I will say this. Carly and I, for whatever reason, it took us about 3 months to get through 3 seasons. We didn't watch it straight through. We took breaks. But we thoroughly enjoyed going back and watching Derry Girls on Netflix. Finally finished it up. It's been probably 2 or 3 weeks ago, at least. But man, I tried to watch this show one other time, and I don't know if I just wasn't in the right mood or whatever. The accents were a little hard to get used to. But, man, it's a great show. Not a lot of episodes, but they are all of good quality. Great characters. It's about 4 girls and a guy growing up in the 90s in Ireland, in a small town during the Troubles. And it brought back a lot of nostalgia things that I had forgotten about, and it's just straight up funny. It's a nice coming of age story for each girl. They're kind of goofy characters, but it's a series with a lot of heart. We laughed a lot and thoroughly enjoyed it, and I would definitely, if you're looking for something odd to get into 1 week or during a weekend binge, Derry Girls is very, very good.
I have heard of it, and that's it.
Yeah.
That's all I know.
Yeah. It's there's a little bit of history if you don't know your Irish recent history in the last 30 years.
I saw Kneecap. That movie's not out yet. But watch Kneecap.
Okay.
At Sundance. Watch for Kneecap. Pretty good.
So, yeah, it's very good. They go to an Irish Catholic girls' school, and one of the characters has a cousin. He is from England that comes to stay with her, and he ends up going to the all-girls school. And it's a lot of fun. It covers a big time. Yeah, big time period of several years throughout. But even the adult characters are absolutely freaking hilarious with their accents, and they're all very strange. And yeah, highly recommend. Carly loved it.
Okay. Carly approved.
Yes.
I had a couple of non-fiction things I was watching. The new game show.
Oh, that's right.
Fox Network and Amazon Prime. It's called The 1% Club. Hosted by Patton Oswalt, which is pretty much what got me to watch it, because I'll watch pretty much anything he does. It seemed like a trivia type game, but it's not like general knowledge trivia. It's more logic problems, solving puzzles, recognizing patterns. So it's not like, do you know the date of this, history event? It's, hey, what's the next in this sequence? So that sort of, it's not like testing, how much knowledge you have. It's testing, can you figure this out? And it has 100 people in the studio, and it starts with, okay, 80% of Americans answered this right. Can you? And then it starts eliminating people as the questions get harder, and they, fewer and fewer Americans would know the answer to until you get to the final question that only 1% of Americans could solve. So it's an interesting take. There's so many trivia games out there that I thought this was an interesting one.
I have questions. One, did you say do they ask 100 questions?
No, it starts with like 80% and then 75% and then it'll jump to 50%.
Okay.
So it's maybe like a dozen, 15 questions.
Yeah, I was thinking, how would they accumulate questions that were exactly how would you get exactly the same amount of questions for each percentage point? Okay, that was my question. Secondly, do you pause it and think about it?
No. I thought about pausing it, but I never did.
You don't have time to think about pausing it.
Patton makes quips and stuff, so I'm like laughing. I was like, "Shut up, Patton! I'm trying to figure this out." Like, because he's always talking through the.
He probably doesn't get a lot of laughs in the audience because everybody's like, "Shut the fuck up! I'm trying to think about this stupid question." Yeah, I haven't watched it yet.
The further along you go, like you start with $1,000, and if you get eliminated, your $1,000 goes in the pot that people will split at the end. But after a certain point, you can spend your $1,000 to skip to the next. Like if you don't know something, so you can hold on to your money, or then at a certain point he'll let you cash out. If you don't think you can answer anymore, you can take your $1,000 and go home. So there's a couple twists as you go. So it's
okay.
I don't know, and he's
so
good.
If you spend your $1,000. If you spend your $1,000, it goes in the pot?
Yeah. Well, if you get eliminated, you lose it. But then, like halfway through, you can use it to buy your way. Like the passkeys, you can buy an answer to the
question. Right. I hate this system already. Anybody can just buy an answer.
So at the end, there's usually
story. How many car questions are there? How many racing questions are there? This is for a niche audience that I'm making these references.
Yeah, they're all in this conference call.
No, I work with a girl who had played trivia there. She works on nights with me. She goes, because I said we won a trivia or whatever again, and she was like, "Where do you play?" I play it over the moon. And she goes, "They never shut." But she likes that you can buy answers because you should know all the answers. I was like, well, I'll stay there then.
I do miss that pizza, though.
Yeah, good pizza.
And the other show I watched, I had Hulu for a stretch, and then was going to cancel it, and they're like, "Do you just want to pause it?" So I paused it for a couple months, and then just came back last month. And The Dark Side of Comedy. So this was a bio series from Vice, which they've done. Dark Side of the Ring was the big one. Like they did wrestling documentaries, and they've done a couple other things like that. So this one is about comedians. I'm not sure exactly when it premiered, but I think it's fairly new to Hulu. 2 seasons of 10 episodes each. So that first season was Chris Farley, Andrew Dice Clay, Roseanne, Artie Lang, Richard Pryor, Dustin Diamond from Saved by the Bell. Season 2 has Robin Williams, Sam Kinison, Joan Rivers, Phil Hartman. So there's that idea of like, the cursed comedian.
Sad stories.
Yeah, a lot of dark, depressing stories. But it's kind of asking, are these people? Does comedy do this to people, or are these types of people drawn to comedy, or what? Why are there so many tragic stories in comedy? I like any show like that had talking head interviews with friends and family and contemporaries, and then lots of clips, going back showing these people at their prime. And if you're a fan of comedy at all, it's definitely not a fun one. It's not fun comedy. It's a little bit darker, but it's still a really good series.
Yeah, that sounds pretty dark. Like I don't know if I want to go visit all those sad stories again. I kind of remember the details from each of those people you named. I'm like, ugh, I was going to be a downer. That's going to be a downer. Big time. I'll just watch Adventures of Fort Fairlane and laugh and think positively about Andrew Dice Clay.
Yeah, I wasn't around much for the Dice Mania stuff. I remember him as an entity, but I didn't remember exactly, because I remember, starting this episode, I'm thinking, free speech, you're allowed to say dirty things or naughty things or things people don't agree with, and then after the hour, I'm like,
not like that.
No, not that. He should be canceled. Cancel culture is good.
Yeah, right.
And then the Roseanne episode was weird too. I did not know that she got hit by a car when she was 15, and it said the hood ornament embedded it in her skull.
Is that what's wrong with her?
She had severe brain damage as a teenager and almost died.
All right,
now
it's all coming
so
together.
she suffered with problems her whole life, mental illness and stuff. And I had forgotten she ran as a candidate for the Green Party in 2012 or something. She was the ultra liberal Green Party candidate at one point. And in less than 10 years, she is ultra QAnon right wing. It was weird.
Somebody freaking smacked her hood ornament with some cortosis, and she's circuits are all messed up. Wow. Well, I'll end with Reality Corner here. Go ahead and play the theme song.
Oh, sure. No problem.
These kids are robots. Jim, Tanny, Laundry.
True story.
Good luck. And don't it up.
Where's Kim?
Kim is always late.
This simple country Where the hell are we?
Yeah, you're going to have to finish all this stuff fast because Big Brother's are coming, ain't it?
Yeah, so basically, I just finished the most recent season of Survivor. I believe it was 46, season 46.
Jesus.
That's the new era started, of course, with season 41.
Of course.
Of course. Well, that was right after COVID. They airing when for a little. We're in reality corner. When COVID happened, we were in the middle of season 40, Winners at War. It had 20 of the first 39 seasons. There wasn't 39 people because one person had won twice, but the 20 winners. It was all winners, and they played a season. It was a pretty good season. I just rewatched it recently, and then COVID, happened, but every episode was ready already except the finale. So when the finale aired, Jeff Probst was in his garage. He and his son had set up, a background for him. And, it was kind of I had forgot all that. I forgot that happened. But then, so when they came back for 41 and they had received a lot of criticism in the time, this is George Floyd era and stuff, they came back with much more diverse casts for since 41. And they've been all decent seasons. But the diversity is definitely much further along after they had this extremely white Winners at War season where they realized how many what they've been doing for 20 years. But anyway, my point is there's buzz going around for season 50. We've still got 3 seasons before then, but that's just a couple years, and
only 6 months.
It flies by. They do 2 a year, and but they have to start thinking about who's going to be on it, and there's a lot of buzz going around. What kind of season it's going to be? Whether it's they did winners, maybe they'll do legends, and will they try to how far are they going to go back and things like that. So that's kind of exciting if you're in that zeitgeist. It's interesting to get in some of the conversation.
Jeff Probst play with Julie Chen and all that. Make the hosts.
That would be amazing. Yeah. I'd watch that. Yeah, make them play reality shows.
Yeah.
You are an idiot sandwich. That's what happened when she went on a reality show. Also, while I was on vacation a couple weeks ago, instead of watching the one episode of Riverdale you guys wanted to watch, I watched 24 hour-and-a-half long episodes of Australian Survivor Season 9, Titans and Rebels. I have my VPN, of course, that I'm paid through next year. So I currently, as far as my computer knows, I'm in Australia. I'm living in Sydney. And I watched that. Reason being, I'd watched the other Australian Survivor seasons because they're pretty good. And they dip into American contestants as well. They'll pull some popular American Survivor players and put them in there. And their seasons are fun. And this season was fine. It wasn't one of my favorites. But the reason I watched it is because I wanted to stay current on who the new players are, because they're going to do like a big season coming up, I guess, that is probably like American players against Australian players or something. But anyway, if you're a Survivor fan, that's going to be a big deal at some point. And I just watched it too, so I could enjoy that season more. So there was also Big Brother Canada was like one of the most popular non-US Big Brother. I mean, they do them in all these countries, but Big Brother Canada was a real stood out until this past season or two. They quit doing live feeds, and you can't do that show without live feeds because, I mean, Jordan, you watched the season with Taylor Hale a couple seasons ago. If they wouldn't have showed live feeds, just imagine how she would have been portrayed, without knowing what she was going through behind the scenes, like that, how poorly she was treated. But in the episodes, they weren't necessarily showing that if the fans hadn't been able to watch the whole thing, basically. So when Canada ended that, they screwed themselves, and they announced this week that that show's over. They're not going to make any more because their ratings went in the trash, because without live feeds, that show is nothing. And hopefully the US doesn't do the same, or they'll end up in the trash also. And I really like Big Brother, so it's my summer fun. It starts here in like 3 weeks or so. I can't wait. I know nothing about this next season. I assume it's an all-new cast, but who knows? Last season had 3. And the only other reality, the end of Reality Corner, is I just finished Jet Lag Season 10. I'm sure I've mentioned it before. If you've ever watched Amazing Race, this is a much better Amazing Race. I don't even watch Amazing Race anymore. It's not interesting to me, but these guys, it's part of that Nebula network. If you have heard of that, it's a bunch of independent creators doing videos about anything on the spectrum, tons of subjects. But they all banded together to make this network, and they do a lot of the creators put their stuff out on YouTube, but you get like perks by subscribing to Nebula. I do not subscribe to Nebula, I want to say, but I want people to know it's out there as an option. Maybe get early episodes and lots of content you can't get otherwise. But Jet Lag is great. It's just a few guys that have created these games like Connect 4 or different, just all kinds of. They make traveling look so fun and easy. Like I'm nervous about traveling. Like when I have to go somewhere, like I was considering going to New York Comic Con, and I'm just like, oh, in what way am I getting there? When I get there, how am I going to get from place to place? Seriously, I don't know the city I'm going to, and that's nerve-wracking. I want to be able to go there and, get around easily and safely. And it's like these guys get a backpack on, and they're going from country to country, and they know every little thing, and they make traveling look very easy. They're just playing games along the way. To an outsider, they would look like a total lunatic. Some of the things they do, because they're trying to do these challenges that they've created. you may think it's like nonsense, but if you ever watched an episode, I think you would see the appeal. So there are 10 seasons. The most recent one was in Australia. They always have a guest. They have these two guys, Adam and Ben, that always play together, and all of them are like very, very likable. And they play together, and they play against another guy, Sam, and a guest teammate. And they played with this popular guest, Toby, this girl that's from Australia and super smart, and just played a game. Whoever could collect these territories in a certain way. The rules are explained as they've streamlined, giving you rules and things like that. It's like just so well produced. You don't feel like you're just sitting there wasting time. They just start, boom, they're going, and you learn the rules along the way, and it's fun. Just pick any season and go. They're not all, 10 out of 10s, but I've enjoyed everyone. And they're short seasons. They're always making one. There's a season. They probably do 4 seasons a year. It's only been going on 2 or 3 years, but Jet Lag, look it up on YouTube.
He hates us promoting our social media or Patreon, but he'll jump right in and promote somebody else's. I guess the rules are different in Reality Corner.
Yeah. Well, I'm more telling you about that content. Like, you're gonna get our content. Whatever. What are we hiding from you? It's on YouTube.
Exactly. We're out there. And we got more to come. Next episode, speaking of traveling, we're going to get the trip report to Heroes Con. Seth just made a trip to one of the biggest cons on the East
Reality.
Coast. We're going to hear all about it. So do not miss it. It's a special Reality Corner sequel episode. All right, that's it for now. We will talk to you later. My name is Jordan Gyllenhaal.
Cliff Barnes.
I'm Seth. Get your Gyllen prize. It's coming to you in the mail. Comment. What did anybody come up with anything? Gosh,
I don't know.
We're clever enough to surely we're set. We're not going anywhere until somebody comes up with a clever Gyllen phrase here. Get your Gyllen jelly. Buy in the mail. Your jar of Gyllen jelly.
Gyllenhaal
Comment
Club.
below.
Gift that keeps on giving.
Goodbye forever.
Ka-Pow, the pop cultured podcast, is intended for entertainment and information purposes only. Sounds, music, and clips played during the podcast are property of copyright holders. All original content is property of www.udownwithkpp.com. If you enjoyed this podcast, please subscribe and leave a comment. Ka-Pow, the pop cultured podcast, can be found on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Podbean, Spotify, and wherever podcasts can be found. You can connect with us through social media on Facebook, YouTube, at the Ka-Pow Podcast on Twitter, or email the show, Ka-Pow, the pop culture podcast @gmail.com. If you really want to go the extra mile, join our Patreon at patreon.com/udownwithkpp for special content and access to Patreon-only benefits. We are grateful for anyone who chooses to contribute, but please know that most of our content will remain free. So please continue to like, comment, and share.